21 Sports. This is the High School Football Playoff Roundtable.
And hi, everybody, and welcome to this 21 in the Sports edition of this High School Football Playoff Roundtable. A lot to get to in the next half hour. Let's talk about the teams that have gotten in. We'll begin with 27 teams throughout the area getting into the postseason this year. Girard has the longest playoff streak of consecutive years. They've been in the postseason 8 years. We'll take a look at that information. Also, 3 rematches from the regular season, and all games on Friday start at 7 o'clock. Happy to be joined by Champ Summers, local sports historian, Dan Heiner from the Tribune Chronicle Vindicator, and DJ Oakley from YSN. So, gentlemen, it's hard to believe we're in postseason. We were doing this 10 weeks ago to start the season. 27 teams in.
Yeah, this sort of fun begins right now because these are all quality teams, and a lot of these double-digit seeds haven't been in the playoffs a lot, but this is fun right now.
And Dan, 16 teams in each region. We've discussed that a lot.
Yeah. First week, you always got to watch because there might be a little one-sided. Once we get to that second round, that's when things start getting a little fun.
And certainly, DJ, you have those double digits. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen.
Throw those records right out the window. I mean, Dan said, 16 versus 1, but we've seen 16s beat 1s before. Our Valley has some contenders this year.
Well, let's take a look at Divisions 2 and 3 because we're going to start off with Austintown Fitch. They are hosting Mayfield. We'll look at the graphic come up. Hudson, a number 9 seed, takes on Boardman, an 8 seed, and Cleveland John Hay, a 12 seed, against Warren Harding. Let's begin, Champ, with Boardman. An 8 versus 9, very tough. Boardman in the playoffs for the first time since 2020.
Yeah, and Hudson, the Explorers, they're 3-0 against our area in playoff. All 3 wins against Harding. So, and this should be a very close game, but a great win by Boardman. One game last year, came back with 6 wins.
Sure.
Good game.
And Dan, Warren Harding playing at home.
Warren Harding, expect a big game out of Chaz. They've been leaning on him, throughout the entire season. When you have a Division I athlete, you go to him in clutch time.
And certainly, DJ, when you have Austintown Fitch in that 4th seed.
Yeah, you look at Austintown Fitch, the pure athleticism that they're able to bring to the table keeps them in every ball game they're in.
And then in Division 3, Cheney and Ursuline, one of those rematches. Ursuline, probably the hottest team right now, is the hottest team, winning 9 in a row.
And they've won their last 4 games against Ursuline. They haven't played much in the past, but boy, you get the 16th team, you celebrate, and what do you got? You got the Ursuline Irish.
So Ursuline and Cheney played back in week 9, not too far. Ursuline won that game 37-6.
Yeah, but they had 1 loss there in week 1 to Walsh, and from that point, the Irish have just been rolling. They're one of the best teams. We were kind of consensus that they might be the best team in the area, and they've showed it.
DJ, this is an Ursuline team that has a lot of weapons.
They do, and I don't think that they've even come close to putting it all out there on tape. So I think we're going to see a lot more as we go in deeper into the playoffs, and Coach Reardon always has something up his sleeve.
And certainly, Ursuline is one of those teams that a lot of people are watching not only here but across the state.
Yeah, they lost their first game 37-35 to Walsh Jesuit and won their last 9. And that was a tough game, and Walsh Jesuit is currently 10-0. So that was a good game, and but the Irish have to get to that next step. I mean, they're a playoff team, but they got to somehow get out of the region #1 and then try to get to the state semifinals and possibly win a state championship.
And back to Division 2 real quick. I mean, that Division 2, Region 5, could be the toughest region in the state no matter what division.
Honestly, I think that if there's a team that has a shot, I think it's Fitch. We touched on the talent earlier. The only thing that might get them is the youth. They have a.
We'll take a look at Division 4 as the first round of the high school football playoffs began on Friday night. All games start at 7 o'clock. We're going to bring up the graphic to show you the Division 4 matchups. It begins with number 13, Hubbard, taking on number 4, West Branch. West Branch in the playoffs for the 5th time. They're 10-0. Hubbard, after 17 consecutive winning seasons, last 2 years have been 5-5, but are in the postseason. Cardinal Mooney, 3 non-winning seasons, but in the playoffs against number 3 Streetsboro. Norton takes on Struthers, who have won 4 of their last 5. And East Liverpool in Division 4, Region 15, 5 straight wins. They take on a very good Columbus East team who's in the postseason for the 3rd year. So, Champ, first of all, Hubbard and West Branch undefeated.
Yeah, and Hubbard started off 4-0. They might have clinched a playoff spot after 4-0 because they struggled the rest of the season, but they are going to have their hands full with the offensive mind and also played good defense, the West Branch Warriors.
And certainly Cardinal Mooney and Streetsboro.
Mooney's an interesting one, right? Because they always pick up points, but you're never quite sure if they're going to be on the bubble or not. They were able to end up clinching a spot despite losing the Holy War. Let's see what they do from this point.
And certainly, DJ, you look at the Struthers team, up and down a little bit. don't have Dukes, but this is a team that played well without him.
Yeah, and they've learned who they are. I mean, trust the climb is their motto, and Devin Bram has been the guy that has been climbing that ladder all year long, a record setter now in the high school. I expect a steady dose of him in the playoffs.
Do we expect Struthers, the team, to kind of move on here at the 7th seed?
Well, unfortunately for Struthers, they lost that last game to Poland, and then they went from a 4-5 seed to a 7th seed. So they'll be at home the first week, but they'll probably be on the road for the second week.
Depending on what happens in week 1. Dan, this is you touched on Cardinal Mooney, 3-6. Sometimes very good, sometimes majority of their season, probably wasn't where they thought it would be, but are able to sneak in. And I thought if they could get in, they could be a team that will take notice just because of their tradition.
Well, they also had some close losses, right? We think about Boardman, that ended up coming down to the wire. So there were some games that could have flipped it. It's just maybe the running game, that they have the defense, but it's maybe the running game that's that kind of pivotal piece that they're kind of missing to balance everything out a little bit.
And DJ over at West Branch, this is a team that just keeps on winning and winning. Don't know if their schedule was as strong as some of the other teams, but they garnered the 4th seed.
Yeah, so you've got the regular season, and then you've got West Branch season. And I think West Branch is a different team when the playoffs come around. Tim Cooper, again, not going to show all his cards because everybody's looking at West Branch. Same way people look at Ursuline, people are looking at West Branch as what are they going to do? How do we defend them? And now it's a Wild West.
Is there a team that can get to the regional finals out of Division 4? In Division 4, Region 13, Liverpool obviously has a tough road on week number 1.
Yeah, you look at West Branch is the one everybody's looking at, but you look at Perry. That's the team that came down from D5 state championships last year. One of our YSN teams. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous, along with Glenville.
Yeah, it's ironic because you have 2 former state champions from last year in this same region, but. It could match up Glenville-Perry. That would be my prediction at this point. But there's always sleepers. But a lot of times these double-digit seeds, they don't go too far. You got to stay at home in these playoffs. That's the key.
Well, we'll see what happens because Division 4 has several local teams, 4 local teams. And when we return, we'll talk about Division 5, which is loaded this year with area teams when our high school football roundtable continues. We check in on Division 5 where there are a plethora of area teams, and it all starts with the South Range Raiders. They are undefeated at 10-0. They have 4 shutouts, and this is a team that is playing good football. Liberty, a 15 seed, goes to Akron to take on Manchester. Canton Central Catholic, a 14 seed, takes on Poland, who's won 4 in a row. We'll take a look at the other matchups in Division 5. Martins Ferry takes on Crestview, a team that has played very good football. Edison at Girard in a 9-8 game, and Lakeview, a 12 seed, takes on Garraway. They are a 5th seed. Garraway knocking off Cardinal Mooney earlier in the season. So, gentlemen, does it all start with the Raiders?
Yeah, and ironically, it starts with the team they started with last year, Fairless Falcons. They beat them last year 43-20, so as a 15th seed they were, and South Range was 2. Well, this year it's 1 versus 16, so they get the same team again for the 2 seasons in a row.
How good is this South Range team?
So good. Let's cut to the chase. They have probably the clearest path to where they want to go. You look at what they have. Pretty much anybody they come across, they've already played. And that's an advantage for them. They play the first 2 games at Rominger Stadium, assuming they get by Fairless, and they have not even come close to putting on the field what they are capable of. So I am really excited to see this. I really want to punch the ticket for Canton this year. I don't want to do anything crazy or put any suggestions out there, but South Range, I think, has the best shot to win a state title in this area.
Playoff run last year, they got good offense. They were able to run it. They were able to throw it. They were able to block. They could play defense. All the ingredients are there for a potential playoff run.
Is it surprising they've been able to do this with David Rock now in his 2nd season?
No, because they're built from the ground up. They're a team, a program, a true program that starts, and it takes a lot of pride. You go to South Range, and you understand it's a community, and they take a lot of pride in all their sports teams. But especially on a Friday night in that stadium, they haven't been beaten in the NE8 in that stadium ever. Only one team's beaten them, and that was Green. It was Division 2. So South Range is, to me at least, they're not a surprise of the success they've had.
Crestview is one of those teams of 60, and they're taking on a Martins Ferry team that isn't too shabby.
Yeah, Crestview really came along. They were kind of under the radar. We were wondering about them early on, but they came on strong at the end. But ironically about this division is there's 4 Northeastern 8 conference teams in this. So if South Range is going to do, they may have to have some rematches, which they may not have any problems with, but that's the key to this whole region.
I mean, is South Range the team to beat then here? I mean, can we see an all, and you have the bracket champ, can we see an all local regional final?
Yeah, I think the team that played them really well this season was Poland. They lost 38-30, and if they keep winning, they'll match up in the regional finals. That might be the one team in this region that could give them a game, although they've won like 34 straight games in the conference. But that might be the team to watch. If Poland continues to win, they would match up against South Range.
And here's a Poland team, Dan, that's won 4 in a row and really played well the last half of the season, especially last week against Struthers.
Yeah, it was really just kind of putting everything together, right? You got some younger players. You look at Vito at quarterback. It's just a matter of just getting the guys some confidence, and it seemed like they really started to build that. Now you get a playoff win. Now you see where you're going and see if you can just get that momentum going in that second half of the season.
We talked about the importance of home games, Champ, and I know you have something on that.
Yeah, the teams, since they started going to the 16 in each region, which was in 2021, the home teams in the first round area teams are 37-4.
So it is an advantage to play that home game.
Yeah, and it's even more of an advantage to be in the top 4, so you get 2 home games.
Well, if you win.
Yeah,
you
if you win.
That first
Absolutely.
one. Okay, let's look at Division 5. When we come back, we'll take a look at Division 6 when our high school football roundtable continues. Okay, we dip into Division 6 where the area has 5 teams in action. And let's take a look at the graphic to show you number 2 Springfield, who's won 7 in a row, will host Black River, the 15th seed. Mineral Ridge and Pie Valley. Now, these 2 teams played week 1 of the regular season. Pie Valley, the winner, 38-27. Valley Christian, who's lost 2 of 3, goes to Dalton. Smithville will play LeBray in a 9-8 game. LeBray in the postseason for the 2nd straight year. And United Local, who's won 7 in a row, host Mogador, a 12th seed. That's very surprising to see Champ Mogador as a 12th seed because they've been a thorn in the area team side here.
Yeah, this is not your older brother's Mogador team, and that might be the best game in terms of competitiveness. Mogador and United, who's like Crestview, really finished the season strong. But I think 23-5 overall against our area in playoffs, very dominant, and 3 of those losses I think they're to one team. But it's not your typical Mogador team, but they're going to be ready to play.
DJ, obviously in Division 6 we have a good representation here, but there's a team that doesn't play a local team that pretty much has dominated 5 and 6.
Yeah, we call that the team that starts with a K. We don't even mention them.
The Hornets Nest.
That's it. I mean, they're a special program. There's no doubt about it. But there's teams in this valley, as you said, well represented, that aren't ever going to back down from any team. And at some point, somewhere along the line, some week is going to beat Kirtland.
Dan, Mineral Ridge and Pie Valley play, in a rematch from week 1. Mineral Ridge backs into the playoffs. They're the 14th seed after losing their last 3.
Yeah, you want to talk about, like you said, backing in, but the talent's there, right? They can attack you in multiple ways. They got a pretty good defense. But that Pie Valley team, they're up there, so a lot of people don't pay attention to them. They have been really good the last few years.
And certainly Springfield, the 2nd seed, behind Kirtland, the top seed. I mean, this is a team kind of flown under the radar a little bit too. They've won 7 in a row and have done it very quietly.
Yeah, you look at what Springfield's been able to do, and one consistent part has been Sean Guerrero and the belief in his kids and understanding that you're not always going to have a run guard. He's been able to do it without and showcasing that these kids have a lot of heart.
Can this be a Springfield-Kirtland regional final?
I think so. I mean,
that's the good news.
Yeah.
The bad news, they're in the Hornets Nest. That's
Well, they would play at a neutral site though when you get to the regionals. But Champ, I mean, and again, we don't cover Kirtland, but Kirtland lost their starting quarterback, Tiger's son, but it seems like they haven't missed a beat.
Well, they've won 12 of the last 13 regionals. 12 of 13. That's since 2011, and they're always in there in the state championship. And but yeah, it's going to be a huge task. But Springfield is, if they were in any other region, they've got a shot. Too bad they weren't in Region 7 or Region 25. They'd have a shot. But
well, they were in D7 last year and moved up this year. Yeah. So, but again, that's a team. And DJ, I know you know a little bit about this, but this is a team where with Kosek and Gentile, they have really established a run game.
Well, we talk about running and defense. It always travels, and you can control the tempo, you control the clock, and if Springfield is able to continue that in the playoffs, they can hang with anybody. But Kirtland, we talked about it during the break, they played Perry to what, triple overtime, double overtime? I mean, that's the defending Division V state champion, and you're playing them and you're hanging with them at D6, now a D4 team. So Kirtland is a force to be reckoned with, but I certainly think we can knock on the door.
One thing, so we would see a Springfield-Kirtland regional final.
I think that's a good bet, 1 versus 2, and because a lot of these teams, especially in the first round, local, besides United, I think will have a competitive game, but these other teams are going to really struggle. They're playing really tough competition.
Sure. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at D7 and Western Pennsylvania when our high school football. And we are going to check on Division 7, where we have a couple of local matchups. Let's take a look at the graphic, because Crestline will take on top seed Western Reserve. The Blue Devils are 9-1 in the season, have won 3 in a row. Here's where it gets interesting. East Palestine and Warren JFK, the 12 seed against the 5 seed. Lowville, the 11 seed will take on McDonald, the 6 seed, I should say, and Southern will take on Wyndham just outside in Portage County. So several local matchups here. Let's start with East Palestine and Warren JFK. And DJ, this is the first time I believe they're ever playing.
Yeah, I believe so. It's one of those situations, I think across D7, they have the ability to schedule up the entire year. That's what Warren JFK always does. East Palestine, not so fortunate. You know, and Warren JFK has the experience and they understand it. Now, they're dealing with a little bit of the injury bug, so we'll see what happens. But you got to give credit where credit's due. Owen Iriauchi, 2,000-yard rusher at quarterback for East Palestine. So I think the Eagles know who they're going to have to stop in order to advance in this game, but don't count the Bulldogs out.
And Dan, Lowville, McDonald, they played back in week 7. McDonald winner 42-14. And I know, both these coaches, Andy Mamuel and Dan Williams, you can't go back to that game. You just got to worry about what's coming up.
And you want to talk about 2 teams that just operate 2 completely different ways, right? Lowville, they go back to the last few years, throw the ball around. McDonald, run the ball. This is going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be closer than what people think.
And Lowville won the previous 3 years. McDonald won this year, but before those 3 wins by Lowville, McDonald won 18 in a row. So, but these are teams that they probably think about each other in their sleep because they play so often every year. And it's ironic because they've never played in the playoffs.
Sure.
Lowville and McDonald never played in the playoffs. So.
Southern and Wyndham, again, Southern's won 5 in a row. Wyndham kind of, again, close to us, but not in our viewing area. But that's a Wyndham team that is pretty darn good.
You're right. Like, a lot of people aren't really familiar with them, but they're a team that has really just been on a roll. They never really had too many down games this year, so you got to wonder, how do they look now that they get into the playoffs? Because, they're not really one of those traditional powerhouses either.
Yeah, I think we have Wyndham. I mean, I know we have Wyndham, but I think what Southern has to do is isolate a kid named Jack Eye. He is their #1 everything, top tackler, top rusher, top everything. If Southern can make them more one-dimensional than they already are, and they've done that to many teams this year, Southern moves on.
Is Western Reserve in the regional finals? That's the top seed.
They're not getting a lot of respect statewide, being a #1 seed, Western Reserve, and that's a good question. I'd love to see it, obviously. I mean, but you've got these 2 teams, Hillsdale and Monroeville. A lot of the experts, so-called experts, think those are your 2 teams to beat right there. But I'm rooting for those Western Reserve teams.
3-headed monster, and they can beat you in a multitude of ways. Pater is an incredible, dynamic quarterback. Spreads it out, but he can also run. So, I mean, you never count out a multi-dimensional offense like Western Reserve has, and John Armini's done a great job.
And Darney is the heart and soul of that run game.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he'll beat you up on defense, too. I mean, he's a hard hitter. You played a game with Darney after it's all said and done.
All right, so over in Western Pennsylvania, there are 7 teams from Mercer County in the playoffs. Sharon, Reynolds, Greenville, Lakeview, Farrell, Sharpsville, and Hickory. Now, Hickory was supposed to play Slippery Rock on Friday. That's already a forfeit, so Hickory advances. And Dan, I know you spent some time over in Mercer County the last couple of years. Farrell down a little bit. It seems like Hickory, though, has kind of taken over that role.
Yeah, Hickory, they've been... Everyone kind of knew it was going to be Hickory-Sharon. That was going to be the 2 best teams. We thought Farrell was going to be in that. It was going to be a trio, but they really got off to a slow start this year. And glad to see they kind of picked it back up. They were able to still get that 1 seed. With Sharon and Hickory, though, they just seem like they're going to be on a collision course.
Sure.
And that's where the fun begins over there, because that's one of the big rivalries.
All right, we've got about a minute to go in the show. I'm going to ask you guys for your top 3 teams from the playoff teams, in any order you want. So, DJ, we're going to start with you.
South Range, Ursuline, JFK.
That's going to be my 3 as well. I think JFK is going to be making some noise there in D7.
I'm going with 3 number 1 seeds: Ursuline, South Range, and Reserve.
And Western Reserve.
Yeah.
I said it from the start. I thought Ursuline had the best chance to win a state championship. I thought South Range was close. And I always think in Division 7, like Warren JFK, if you have a couple of good players. But, you know, that Division 7 region with Western Reserve, JFK, you know, you could throw, you know, McDonald in there. I mean, it's going to be tough. But I agree with DG. I think it's Ursuline, South Range, and Warren JFK.
Yeah, but we should mention, too, that this Division 7, the only way that's true comes true is if Maria Stein, Marion Local drops out.
Oh, exactly. All right, we're down to 10 seconds. Gentlemen, thanks for your time tonight. Thank you for watching again. The playoffs begin Friday night at 7 o'clock.